Hi everybody, we're out here today near Lemont, Illinois. We came here early in the spring and took some video for you of Cascade Falls, which is just back behind these trees over here in the big valley. And this Waterfall Glen Forest Preserve, and you can see it's gated off for vehicles to get back into the forest preserve. What's back there about 2 miles back is a very old settler cemetery, St. Patrick's Cemetery. We're going to walk back there and take a look at that today. Hike back there, see what we can see, bring anything interesting along the way. Using a trail here to bypass the gate, and this cemetery was founded, if you will, in 1849. A bunch of early settlers buried here. Irish, a lot of Irish immigrants settled this area back in the 1830s. So almost 200 years ago that this area was settled. Just inside the forest preserve, interestingly enough, I think we showed you this in the last video too, is an industrial track for BNSF, Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railway. They use this track to service some industries in Woodridge and Bolingbrook, along that area. Goes back that way and curves down, connects to the Chillicothe sub in Lemont. All right, so the cemetery that we're heading to, St. Patrick's, is right next to a particle accelerator. You can't make this stuff up. In the early 1950s, at the height of new discoveries in nuclear energy, Argonne National Laboratory had outgrown its original campus at the University of Chicago, as well as a forest where it conducted other experiments during the late 1940s, which currently, still the world's first nuclear reactor remains buried there today. That's not far from here, over on Archer Avenue. The site chosen would be 3,500 acres in unincorporated Downers Grove Township in DuPage County, Illinois. What was once farmland would be converted to space to develop energy, weapons, and other Cold War inventions designed to keep the United States as the premier superpower in all things technology. However, 2 of those acres held cemetery land owned by a nearby church, St. Patrick's Catholic Church in Lemont. The decision was made to keep the cemetery in its original location as opposed to relocating it to accommodate the laboratory. As such, it's impossible to travel to the cemetery by vehicle, but you can walk along the former Bluff Road from the Waterfall Glen Forest Preserve. That's where we're at right now. These are the only 2 acres the government doesn't have anything to say about, said Polly Hanrahan, the caretaker of St. Patrick's Cemetery for over 40 years. This article is from 2019, just to give you a time frame. While this preserved the grounds, it made traversing this to the cemetery quite difficult. The cemetery is freely accessible today, but not without at least 2 miles of walking in each direction, which we're in the middle of right now. Most of the early settlers who are buried in St. Patrick's were born in Ireland, came over in the 1830s, and pioneered the farms surrounding the ground. It's quite easy to tell the Irish ancestry of the cemetery, as many of the last names appear to be from Irish descent. So we're going to keep walking here. We're about a quarter of a mile into the journey. And haven't seen too much interesting yet. Snapped some pictures of some flowers and butterflies and things like that. Catch your attention, but nothing too compelling. Of course, it's the second day of October 2024, and the leaves are starting to change just a little bit. Still got a lot of green, but starting to see a little bit of yellow mixed in. Weather's still beautiful. Here in the Chicago area, we're having 70-degree days and, 50s at night. So we're enjoying one of those nice days here. The 2 acres of farmland for the cemetery were purchased in 1849 by the Chicago Catholic Diocese from Mr. and Mrs. Nicholas Mulvey, who are both buried there. We'll see if we can find their grave today. Got some birds talking to us here on the trail. The cemetery is referred to as nearly abandoned. That label comes from the lack of use and visitors, but it is still well maintained by the St. Patrick Church in Lemont. Despite it being out of the way of most vehicle traffic and requiring a significant walk to visit, it was proposed to add more cemetery space. However, given how difficult the walk is to the grounds already, the proposal was ultimately not acted upon. All right, we've made it to the model airfield here at Waterfall Glen. Take in some of the gorgeous wildflowers. We're over halfway to our cemetery. You can see up here, road takes a curve to the left. We're going to go straight on that unbeaten path there. Should be there in just a few minutes. Take in the beauty though first. I tell you what, for a big city, a big metropolitan area, Chicagoland has some of the most amazing forest preserves. All right, we made it to the part here of the trail where we are adjacent to a highly restricted area, the Argonne National Accelerator Laboratory. You can see the security fence here, keeping folks out. The rest of our path here, I believe, is right next to the facility. All right, still making our way down. We're about, I'll say, 1.75 miles in, and still walking along the Argonne National Laboratory here. We're at gate 17, no trespassing, notice of prohibited articles, and again, real tight security to my left, but still a beautiful forest preserve to my right. Gotta keep making our way back here. Tell you a little bit about myself. I haven't done much with this channel. I've done a few exploration things. We looked at a couple old cemeteries, which is kind of the idea behind this. Like, I'm a big fan of Ron on Faces of the Forgotten. Kind of got the idea from him. Of course, he does a lot more research and has a whole team of people checking historical facts and whatnot. JP Videos is another channel that I've enjoyed watching his exploration videos, mostly in Pennsylvania. So the ideas kind of came from there. I'm a full-time police officer in a suburb of Chicago. Been doing it almost 20 years. And I grew up in southern Illinois, small town, farmland, not a lot of people, not a lot of traffic. And of course, you know, growing up, you just, I won't say you hate it, but you're not a big fan of it. Got to get out of here, got to do something with myself, you know, that whole idea. Well, as you get older, you realize that those roots mean a lot to you. And I miss small towns, miss being able to walk places and not have people everywhere. And these little hikes kind of do that for me. Once I retire and the kids get out of college, maybe I'll move back to a smaller town, smaller area. But for the time being, I'm stuck here. And these forest preserves give me a chance to get out and act like I'm in the middle of nowhere. A little peace and quiet. So, a little bit of background behind me and where the idea for this A Deeper Look channel came from. I have another channel, Railfan channel, Titan Train Spotter. My son and I go out and record trains and put them on there. We've done a lot more with that channel than I have with this. So thank you for watching. If you watch this far, and if you watch this far, you might as well stay with us, because we're almost to this historical cemetery that you cannot get to by vehicle, except in special circumstances. Sometimes you got to do the Ferris Bueller. Just stop once in a while and check out the flowers. And I should explain that last comment. I said under special circumstances. I'm aware that you can contact the Forest Preserve for access, vehicular access to the cemetery. If you have a grave you want to visit or something like that. And I believe, don't quote me on this, once a year, Memorial Day or sometime around that time, the church, St. Patrick's Church, comes out here and has a mass, I believe. Again, don't quote me on that. I think I read that somewhere. So it is accessible. Just got to get permission and take some planning to do it. All right, I just checked our map. This is our last curve before we get there. I've never been here before, so it's going to be new to me, along with you. Come back out of this clearing. The cemetery should be just on the other side here. Talk about resting in peace. It doesn't get more peaceful than this, I don't think. Take a peek at this Department of Energy sign real quick. No trespassing by the order of the United States Department of Energy. And here we go. We made it. Beautiful hillside here. Very well kept, well maintained by the Chicago Diocese, Archdiocese. St. Patrick Catholic Cemetery, office located in Orland Park. Got your office hours. You have certain rights, okay. Please keep gate closed to protect your grave decorations and cemetery landscaping. Safety alert. $1849. A lot of history here. There's the other side of the entry. Sacred to God, to us. Let's go inside. We'll be respectful, of course. Looks like somebody was buried here in 2020. Not all that old. 1974. We mentioned about the Irish names. Here we got Flanagan. Patrick Smith, or Smythe, World War II veteran, passed away 1968. Thank you for your service, sir. And I always told myself when I came for a cemetery visit, I was going to bring a flashlight so I could read the old tombstones, and of course I didn't. And I can't read that. I don't know if it'll come out any better on camera or not. Guessing no. Here's a grave of Charlotte Lynch. Lived 1 year, 1893 to 1894, less than a year actually. And then Anna, looks like she was born in 1898, but I don't think she lived very long either. I can't see the date. It looks like 1890 something, maybe 1899. This is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Here's an old one. Of course, very difficult to read. Maybe died 1868. Aged, looks like 6 years. It's Thomas, but I can't see the rest of the name. But we're talking back in the days of Abraham Lincoln, 1860s. $1951. Looks like these Anna and Patrick were buried here in 1949 and 1946, respectively. Here's an old one I might be able to read. Maybe I lied. It looked like possible from back there. Too worn down. If you can see any of that or can make any of it out, leave it in a comment for me. So Peter H. Brady died May 6, 1891. He was 38 years old. Rest in peace, Peter. His wife died in 1915. This one caught my eye from the path over there. It's gorgeous. It's got the name of my hometown on it, Casey. I don't see any other graves with that name on it, though. Looks like it's maybe a plot marker, but another World War II vet here, Frank Stremlow. Buried here in 1970. Frank, thank you for your service. Rest in peace. Another veteran here, Michael Hagel. Got the Farrell Stone, looks like died in 1880 or 1889, age 73 years. I tell you what though, this one just, I'm drawn to this. So pretty. Andrysiak, Lad. James Hennerby. It's hard to read. Died in 1871, age 58 years. Hennebury is the last name, though. It's easier to see down there. Rosanna Bracken. Died in 1871. 56 years old. Rest in peace, Rosanna. You've got a beautiful, beautiful tombstone as well. Looks like somebody brought the lawn chair and something to drink. 23rd Psalm there. The Mulveys, Philip and Elizabeth, 2010 and 2022. One of the newer graves. John McHugh. His tombstone has really lasted. He died in 1872, 40 years old. Rest in peace, John. It's actually a very, very new grave over here. Very new. So obviously, cemetery is still in use. Just hard to access. I happen to notice, is this a weird place for a grave? Back here away from everybody else's. Looks like Frederick Peters died in 1938, and then somebody Wilson. And it's right up against the fence. There's no other graves around here, at least marked. Kind of bizarre. I tell you what, though, it's nothing like a walk in a cemetery on a beautiful October day to remind you how short life is. And how, once we're gone, people remember you for maybe a generation, and then really you're just a grave marker. It's kind of sad. So I walked right by this earlier. This is the one that had the lawn chair behind it, and it is a Mulvey gravesite for Philip and Elizabeth, who passed away in 2010 and 2022. I gotta assume that's probably descendants of the original landowners here. Be nice if I could talk. Right behind this, sounds like a machine gun. Right behind this here we have, in memory of Nicholas Mulvey, native of Ireland, passed away in 1861, October 11th, actually coming up on the date, 55 years old. I think this is probably the Nicholas who owned the land and sold it to the Archdiocese for a cemetery. But the article I read did say that he and his wife are both buried here, and I don't really see anything indicating a couple. Look around a little bit more. This might be as good as we get, though, for Nicholas Mulvey. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I think I found the right grave I was looking for. If you know more about Nicholas and his wife and where they might be buried here, let me know, and I'll come back and put it on video for the record. But really neat, welcoming, old cemetery. Dates back to 1849. St. Patrick Cemetery here near Lemont, Illinois. The cemetery right next to the particle accelerator. So kind of an interesting thing. Got to walk, like I said, about a little under 2 miles to get to it, unless you make arrangements ahead of time or check with the parish or the forest preserve to have a reason to get a car back here. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe to A Deeper Look if you enjoyed that, and we'll bring you some more videos. Thank you.